Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for new moon in Cancer that is happening on the 14th of July. And this is the most personal energy that happens, as well as the next new moon, which will be solar eclipse new moon in Leo on the 12th of August. And the Cancer and Leo are two most personal signs in the zodiac, because they are ruled by the moon and the sun, and all other signs are ruled by planets that rule two signs, but the sun rules only Leo and the moon rules only Cancer. So now we have this new moon in Cancer, the most personal sign, the core placement, Cancer in the 4th house, the core placement of the zodiac. And yeah, it's a bit windy here today, but I hope I will be able to deliver the message despite the wind. And the wind is very good, actually. It's very purging, especially with Uranus in Gemini. But this new moon in Cancer is right next to Mercury retrograde in Cancer. So this has a lot to do with the past. And Cancer is also related to past. Moon is related to past and to things that we do repeatedly. So this could be something that we've been repeating over and over again, and that needs to be communicated, that needs to be finished, that needs to be acknowledged, that needs to be seen with from different perspective. And because Mercury is retrograde, this is communication from the past. These are conversations from the past. And since it's in Cancer, these are perhaps conversations, unfinished conversations with family, unfinished conversations about childhood, emotional conversations, deeply healing conversation, emotionally triggering conversations, information that never reached us may reach us now. You know, emails, messages, all those things that we didn't receive, that we were supposed to receive, we may receive them now. Also, this is a time when, you know, lost and found things are coming to light. If we lost something, we may find it during this time. But it's also possible to experience a lot of course, miscommunication, misinterpretations, and, you know, deeply emotional reactions, verbal reactions. So we may be emotionally charged and overcharged, and we may react very impulsively. We may react from the place of feeling emotionally hurt, from the place of our inner child, of the hurt inner child who carries a lot of unfulfilled desires. And we may project all these things onto people who are closest to us during this time. You know, whoever that is, if this is the person we live with, if this is our mother, our father, our brother or sister, our best friend, our partner, our neighbor, our colleague, you know, whoever is at that moment closest to us, we may lash out onto this person, or he or she may lash out to us. So this is a powerful time to experience these moments and to recognize these projections that we usually are unaware of. And, you know, this is time of surrender or control. And, you know, people rarely dedicate their time to true, authentic, emotional well-being. And, you know, I talked about this before, like we are usually mostly focused on our careers, on getting our needs met, on improving our physical body, our outlook, our, you know, to be fit. Then we do so much to improve our intellectual body, but we rarely deal with our core feelings. And like it seems like nobody's truly dealing with emotional body. And I know we see so much of this holistic healing and alternative ways of processing our emotions and pain, but it's all done in groups, mostly. And this can never really happen in a real way if we are doing it with with group of people. Of course, it's easier. We feel seen, heard, and stuff like that. But when all that is gone and we go back home on our own, we become addicted to those healings. So I see a lot of people going on retreats all the time, or attending workshops all the time, attending so many things all the time, and those family constellations and things, like all the time. We can never get enough of it, because there's always something more to be done. And of course that's all fine, but this is another loop that we get stuck in, because we can never truly grow within a group. You know, if it's only depending on the group of people, we really have to do it on our own. This is, again, do it yourself. Whenever we have strong Cancer energy, I love to say it's do it yourself thing. And this doesn't mean to isolate, to withdraw, to be on your own. No, no, no. But, you know, be in the group, be within the community, but have awareness that you do it yourself, and be capable enough to build your own family, to build your own home, to prepare your own food, to wash your clothes on your own. You know, you don't depend on anyone to nurture you, to hug you, to nourish you, because this is creating strong physical and emotional dependencies and anxieties as well. And there are many hidden layers beneath that. So, you know, we may be faced with people who are close to us who don't want to go out, who don't want to leave their home, or who want to be all the time outside of their home. These are extremes, like I'm either always at home or I'm either always outside my home. And we are about to witness these behaviors and needs more than usual. And you know, this is our inability, collective inability, to detach from that perfect image of mother, because we've all been taught that, you know, this is something that we get from the mother, and we fail with that experience, and then we search for that same attention, we search for that same affection and care in those who are closest to us. We search for the same treatment from our friend, or we are the ones who offer that kind of treatment of being a perfect mother, all forgiving, all loving, you know, unlimited, unconditional love. That is so, these are so unreal expectations, and we don't want to deal with ourselves. We deal with what we get or don't get from the other. And this is emotional reset. This new moon in Cancer is truly an emotional reset, and our ability to talk about it with Mercury retrograde, it's really an opportunity to finally open up about something that we were silent about, to finally be courageous enough to let go of something as well, because Cancer energy has that strong need to hold things, you know, strongly, to protect, to defend, especially if we feel attacked or threatened in some way. Then we are going to become even aggressive when it comes to defending and protecting these things. So, and energy can be very quick, and we may react even before we realize what truly happened. And this is whenever we have Cancer new moon or full moon or something strong happening in Cancer, this is time when we can emotionally reset, and we can experience emotional revolution. We can truly bring it into our life. And we had Jupiter in Cancer until recently, and Jupiter is now in Leo. So this also fits perfectly with all of this energy, with Uranus and Mars in Gemini, with Venus in Virgo, with new moon in Cancer, with Mercury retrograde here. And it's truly a powerful time for emotional rebirth and for emotional death. You know, many of us are going through emotional death, and this will of course impact our bodies, our senses, even our skin, you know, our physical appearance And this is happening because we are also now entering eclipse season. We will have 2 eclipses in August, but eclipses are felt many weeks before. So we are actually in eclipse season, and we will have one eclipse in Leo and another one in Pisces. But okay, I'll talk about that when time comes. But now it's also, it's strongly felt. So this is some kind of emotional death that allows us to be emotionally reborn, because there is no rebirth without death. And this emotional death may make us feel misunderstood, alone, betrayed in some way. And this is powerful time for us to get out of that program, to recognize it as a program, which it is. A program where we continuously ask for someone's attention, and where we continuously search for mistakes of others, and where we continuously search for something to be mad at. Something to be mad at. Something that makes us either sad or full of rage or abandoned, because Cancer is a lot about our sense of belonging and abandonment issues. And our sense of belonging will be strongly affected. And through conversation, through open, heart-to-heart conversation, we can bring the medicine between us. And, but this demands, this requires us to be in the state that is free from fear. And we may also see, like, if we are good to someone only as long as we are playing a certain role, and if we want to change ourselves, we are going to see how others change as well. If we are working on improving ourselves, on setting our boundaries, on doing things for ourselves, finally, we are about to see how others react to that. Are they supporting us, or are they getting mad at us? And we are about to see, were we just a role, or truly a friend or a family, or whatever. And this is pretty emotionally charged, and vulnerability is easily triggered now. Emotional catharsis is easily accessed, and we have to dig into our depths to confront ourselves, to confront past traumas, and to confront our shadow, to purge ourselves, to purge toxic patterns, and especially toxic patterns in our emotional reactions and behavior with our closest people, and to look at our expectations, to see if we are being too demanding, and to see if we are attached to someone who is being too demanding of us. And these are deep-rooted feelings that are provoked and evoked now, and it's time for powerful inner contemplation. So, we don't need protection from uncomfortable emotions, and we somehow always try to protect ourselves from feeling something that we don't want to feel. But as long as we protect ourselves from this, we are running away from it, and we always miss an opportunity to really experience the connection with ourselves. And it's time for big emotional release, especially release of old emotional burdens. And this Mercury retrograde will help us a lot, because this is also a powerful time for writing, and for writing letters that we don't ever have to send or give to anyone, but it's powerful for us. It's a way, it's a tool for releasing things, and for channeling for translating our feelings onto paper, into words. And we may not really have a need to socialize that much these days, and we have a need to be held, to be taken care of, to be nurtured and nourished, and to nurture ourselves on the inside. And this is an inside job. It really is. Whenever we have strong Cancer, it's an inside job. And it's time to see where we are being too demanding, as I already said. So we can feel awakened through taking care and through honoring our inner journey. This is, love, scars, and healing. It's all about love, scars, and healing. And recently we experienced Chiron entering Taurus after being in Aries for 7 long years. And this Chiron in Taurus is totally different, but it's going to show us wounds around our self-worth and wounds that are related to physical touch as well. And Cancer is also strongly related to physical touch. This is our first connection with Mother Cancer energy and the 4th house and Moon. It's all about our touch and our openness to other people, our openness to ourselves, our relationship with our childhood, with our mother, with our inner child, and with our inner family, with our inner mother, with our inner father. And this is also an invitation to grow up and to see where we are being emotionally immature. And as I said, love, scars, and healing. So we are about to see what scars we are carrying, what scars we are able to recognize, what scars we are ashamed of, what scars we are proud of, what scars we are too proud of, which scars we put on the as our trophies, and where we are too identified with these scars and with the process of healing. So Cancer is the midnight. It represents the midnight. It's Imum Coeli. It's the place in the zodiac, in the chart, called Nadir. And it's the tomb and the womb all at once. So we are now feeling like we are in the tomb or in the womb or both. But this is the same, because this is the death and rebirth, the tomb and the womb, definitely. So we have to die in order to be reborn, as I already said. So this is the first water sign. And we are confronted with big emotional challenges now. And establishing a relationship with our emotions is truly a tricky business. And emotions do not respond well to mental analysis or to verbal directives. And our emotional body impacts our mind, and our thoughts influence our emotions. But even though the language of our emotional body is sensory feelings and not mental talk. We can't talk ourselves out of our emotional traumas. We cannot do it with our talk. And we can't make logical sense out of how we feel. If our emotional nature was simply a matter of problem-solution scenario, we would all be much more emotionally balanced. But Cancer, as I said, is the midnight point of the zodiac wheel. And the cusp of the house of Cancer is at the very bottom of our birth chart. So our midnight point is the darkest place in our psyche. We receive the least light from the outside. And when light is not available from the outside, we must find it within ourselves. So when love is not available from outside, we must give it to ourselves in the same way. And we have this capacity, definitely. So the search for self-love is a major theme of Cancer archetype. And the Cancer archetype asks us to examine how we nurture and support ourselves. So I feel, therefore I am. This is that kind of base in our psyche. This is, the message of this new moon is that our internal emotional feeling reality is our inner foundation that supports and nurtures us in the world. So, how we experience, relate to, and express our inner emotional core determines how we project and present ourselves in the world. This would be Capricorn. axis, the polarity point of Cancer, how we present ourselves in the world. And our task is to experience the feeling that Cancer archetype presents as the base of our cross. And as we do so, we awaken to the fact that our emotional and physical bodies are a key ingredient to our transformational journey towards wholeness of who we are. And we also feel intense emotions because we are less and less able to escape into our minds. And we can't simply release our negative emotions by projecting them outside of ourselves. We are obliged to feel our feelings in our own bodies. This is something we shouldn't be running away from. And, we definitely have to feel it in our body. And that's why being near the water is very, very powerful and healing during this time. And feeling water on our body, allowing ourselves to be in the water, even when we are taking a shower, it doesn't matter, when we are washing our face, when we are drinking water, whatever connection we have with water, it's very powerful to be aware of its existence, of its presence, and of our connectedness with water. And the more we feel our feelings, the more we get in touch with our negative emotional conditioning, and we have it a lot. We carry so many programs that are self-sabotaging, that are self-destructive, that are totally damaging for us. And whenever we have energies like this, we have an opportunity to see through them and to see, wow, it's this is a mechanism. This is something I carry. This is something I am repeating. This is something I was unaware of, but now I can choose to do things differently. Now I can choose something new. I can choose new reaction. I can react differently. And as we become aware of our subconscious programming, we can release it and free ourselves. And these emotions, they are the ones that run our show, our personal show. And our emotions direct, as I said, our personal reality show. And we can have great ideas and work hard to implement them, but subconscious fear, anger, and sadness can sabotage our most genius ideas and efforts. And the water signs remind us that we have to figure out how to deal with our emotional energy. Our emotions run deep, so some of us may have to sink really deep in order to feel, because we suppressed and suppressed and suppressed and suppressed over years, over lives. We kept suppressing, so it's all at the bottom of the well. And Cancer is related to the well. So we now may have to go to the very bottom of this well and to do some emotional cleansing and healing. And they are hard to access. They are really hard to access. They are even harder to explain and may defy explanation, and they are impossible to ignore. Our thoughts generate emotions, and emotions generate thoughts. Part of our journey is to explore the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings. And emotional maturity really asks us to be more and more aware of what is going on with our emotional body. And if we are just suppressing our emotional body and working on improving our physical body or our intellectual body, we are not really moving anywhere. So we may see this, how people behave like spoiled children when they are faced with the smallest issue. Like when they are faced with the smallest problem, with either feeling neglected or feeling ignored by someone, or feeling like someone is not giving them full attention, we may see this kind of behavior in others. This really childish behavior, like kicking and screaming, demanding attention, and behaving even passively aggressively, because Cancer can do that. It doesn't have direct aggression, but it's passive aggressive. And since Mars is in Gemini during this time, these could be aggressive words, and Mercury is retrograde next to this new moon. So again, communication can be very, very tricky and complicated, and our emotional body is very active while we are preoccupied with our mental intrigues, and what is it doing and how it is creating our reality. And the day we get serious about reorienting our mind to pay attention to the wealth of knowledge, pleasure and pain that lives in our own body, this represents a true shift in consciousness when we truly start paying attention to this, not only talking about it, not only thinking about it, but really doing something about it, feeling it. And this is the journey of the Cancer part in us, the crab's journey. And it's not surprising that the disease Cancer has the same name as the Cancer archetype. And I know these are delicate topics and themes, but I already spoke about this before. And when we want so much attention, when we need a lot of attention, and we crave it and we don't get it, unconsciously our system remembered that when we were little, when we get sick, we get attention. So what our system is doing on subconscious level is, when it doesn't get attention but it craves attention, it gets sick in order to gain that attention and affection. And these are, of course, very, very delicate and complex topics, but it's how it works. And the disease Cancer and most illnesses certainly have strong emotional component. It is recognized that stress is a major cause of many diseases, and the root of stress is emotional dysfunction and disorientation. And we often ignore and deny emotional sources of our illness, which is one reason why we don't get better and can't find cures, because it's in the invisible realm, and we have to do it on our own. We have to make a conscious decision. We have to feel ourselves and understand that we are not those helpless little children anymore. We are grown-ups, and we have responsibilities, and we are responsible for how we are, for what we do with our bodies. We are responsible for how we react to certain things. We are responsible for our diseases and illnesses. Nobody else is. And this is something that is not easy to accept, but it's necessary if we want really to live a life that is whole. And just as our emotional body doesn't respond to intellectual solutions, our illnesses don't respond to technical solutions. And genetically engineered pill cannot replace authentic human love. Cancer's journey is the quest to find heart awakened emotional love, and a place where we don't have to prove ourselves, to prove our love, to prove where we don't feel anxious all the time about, does this person love me or doesn't love me, or am I going to feel safe here or unsafe? All these things are packed into these first emotional core needs. And the sensitive crab archetype reminds us of the pitfalls of our human journey. We humans fall into many traps, and we do this all the time on our quest for love. And these are sentimental, dramatic, drama-oriented relationships and unsatisfying entanglements and codependent relationships. These are not the answer. And our real quest for love begins when we make a shift, and when we turn this journey inside ourselves, when we begin to learn how to generate an experience of love within that satisfies our mind, body, emotions, and soul. And again, it's all about getting an attention. And if we are aware enough and honest enough with ourselves, we are about to see where we are being too codependent, where we are craving this attention, and who around us is hungry for that attention, and who wants that attention from us, and what we can do with it, what we can do with all of that, what we see and feel. And our emotional and physical bodies have their own intelligence, which, if we pay attention, will always tell us what we need. Their impulses don't necessarily correspond to what we consciously think or believe. And most of us are unaware of how our body and emotions respond to primal needs, to environmental demands and stress. We have to train ourselves to listen to their messages. And one of the unconscious tactics of those with Cancer energy, sun, moon, rising, or stellium in Cancer, these individuals get sick to get attention. And in addition, our upsetting and unresolved emotional states contribute to our delicate nature and our disease. And we are generally unaware of how these things work, definitely. And I don't have solutions, of course. There are no quick solutions, but it's about being present in life, being present with our body, not being stuck in the past, replaying conversations from the past, or thinking about the future and having those conversations, or waiting our whole life for someone who will give us that kind of attention, or waiting for someone to change. Like, if we give enough love, if we give enough attention, this person will change and I can heal or cure or save them. No. And we don't need saving. We don't need to be saved. We just need to come back to our natural state of being. And I'm struggling with this wind here all the time, but I hope this message will be delivered nicely. And even when we become aware of this pattern, we don't know how to stop it. Awareness of how our emotional well-being impacts our physical health is essential first step. But observation is not the whole solution, of course. We have to develop a working relationship with our emotional body. And this requires serious, non-verbal, non-analytical, self-directed attention. And sometimes when our mission to mobilize love is accomplished, we come to life in a natural way. And our physical and emotional sensations are messages from our soul. That's what they are. And self-compassion is truly a must for healing. And we have to give ourselves a break and not to be so hard on ourselves. Self-criticism and judgment are our worst enemies. And this is not the way we are meant to grow up. This is not the way to reparent ourselves, to be, strict authority figure to ourselves, but neither it is to be all forgiving and unconditional, but, balance as always in everything. Nothing too much, And when we try to avoid feeling our emotions by escaping into our minds, where we manufacture stories about our feelings, our emotional body, this is when we feel this is when our inner child feels abandoned and unloved, when we escape into our mental stories. And we avoid going to our midnight point because we find pain or numbness. And what we do with the pain or void that we feel, we love it. We love it with all our heart. When we find the pain there at the bottom of the well, what we do with it, we don't punish it, we don't shut down, we don't blame it, we just love it. And it takes guts, it takes guts and emotional courage to love what we find at the bottom of our emotional well. And we use our emotional body to love what we are feeling, comfortable or uncomfortable. Like a small child or a pet, we caress ourselves with our own compassion and tenderness. and our inner child may have been crying for decades. It may take days, weeks, months to calm it down and soothe its wounds. But it's possible. With daily attention, it's possible to reclaim the hurt feelings and to transform them into deep satisfaction, into creative power, into pure love. So, to love this may appear unrealistic or either simplistic, but we will never know what is possible until we dedicate alone time every day to self-love. And the special gift of the archetype of Cancer is to invite us to pay attention to the feelings in our body without making stories, without judgment, but just, to gently embrace what we are experiencing and to honor the sacred aliveness of our soul. And, the water signs invite us to relate to our world and ourselves in a non-linear, non-verbal, sensory manner. And again, non-linear, we have Mercury retrograde, so it's non-linear way. It's not about, being able to track the events, to go back into the past. No, it's spiral. It's spiraling. And the universe, our world, our being, are all made up of waves of electrical and magnetic patterns of energy. We are living in electromagnetic field and we are made of this. So our physical and emotional bodies, our mind and heart, they all monitor, respond and adapt to how we synchronize or not with those universal patterns. And the only thing that will satisfy our emotional body is to resonate with these energies. And, our thoughts and beliefs and our feelings, our emotions, they all determine how we communicate with and how we relate to the world beyond our bodies. And this is, heart versus the head. But it's not about choosing the heart or the head. This is where the true nature of human being comes into form. When we are able to master both, we have to master both. This is where the greatness of being a true human being comes into reality. When we are able to know our hearts and to know our minds, and not to be in the battle, not to constantly choose either or, but to choose to know that there is always something more. And there is more power in our feelings than in our thoughts. So our heart and emotional body have a bigger role to play in healing than our mind, but they both have to collaborate. And we have an ability now to see to which extent we still believe that we are powerless. And when we are diagnosed with a disease, we often feel victimized, betrayed and powerless. We trust the medical authorities more than our ability to heal ourselves. So, when a person gets diagnosed, it's almost like that's fixed, impossible to change, but that's not true. And we are more and more becoming aware that we can change our reality at any given moment, by changing our focus. Our focus generates the reality. And this is something that we all really have to become aware of more and more. And healing involves using our emotional body and our neutral mind to experience the infinite space where this kind of healing is possible. And we must avoid thinking about how healing might occur. We must learn to work with the thought in a different way. Physical matter and emotional energy, they respond when we speak their language. So when we think about creating something in our physical world, we usually think in a linear, step-by-step logical manner. We proceed through process that has sequences, and we are trained to think in this linear fashion, which is appropriate for physical manifestation. But when we use non-physical energy, we work in a different manner, and we have to train ourselves to feel the quality of the outcome that we desire. to feel it. And we have to generate that feeling within ourselves, to generate the feeling of the outcome. And there is great responsibility in being able to trust. And what is required is to live in trust that other possibilities are available. Authentic trust has a very magnetic feeling. And this is something very, very powerful. We have to take responsibility and act from the place of being co-creators, not just victims of this universe that happened by an accident. We are not an incident or an accident. We are much, much more than that. And this is, as I said, this requires to live in trust that other possibilities are available. And judgment only creates a wall between our current situation and other possible realities. So acknowledgement opens the door to new possibilities. Acceptance is a form of love. And this kind of acceptance opens the field of infinite possibilities that is always there, always present. And healing also requires feeling gratitude and appreciation for the past and for the availability of other possibilities. So it is key to recognize that we are not requesting or praying for something that we don't have. If we acknowledge the absence of something, we affirm that something is missing and give energy to that which we wish to change. We definitely can find this medicine of love that is neutrality and gratitude from within. So we are here to learn how to manifest and to enjoy physical reality, of course, but our focus is to love and honor ourselves every step of the way. For it's not our physical accomplishments that we will take with us. It's the love in our hearts. It's the love in our hearts and how we made others feel, how we changed others, how we changed ourselves, and what we did with our experiences. So the purpose of life is it's not life just on its own. It's not just life itself, but it's not just experiences, but our ability to take the best from those experiences and to do the best with those experiences, not just to experience passively. As many say, like, the purpose of life is life itself. Okay, but if we don't do anything with those experiences, then what's the point? So let's trust that other possibilities are available, because they are. And, we can choose differently this time. New moon, new possibilities. New moon in Cancer, new emotional perspective, emotional rebirth, emotional reset. And with this, I would end this video. I didn't share any story, I didn't share any quote, because I don't think it's necessary for this. I think we all need to find our own quote, our own story. Let's create our own story, our own quote, our own field of energy to feel it and to carry it, to bring that feeling, the feeling of the outcome that we really wish to come into life, without falling into those loops of constantly seeking attention and someone to take care of us, or someone that we want to take care of. To let go of the need to be needed. To let go of the need to be needed. And to create, to co-create with all of this that is all part of each other. Everything participates in everything. And with this, I would end this video, and I love you all, and I wish us all a very emotionally purifying, resetting, rebirthing, transformative new moon in Cancer that is going to give us a perfect base for the next new moon solar eclipse in Leo that we will have around the middle of August. See you in 2 weeks. Love you all. Bye bye.